Thank you for joining me today. To kind of start the interview, um, what exactly does being an auditor entail?
Oh, okay. Well, we have to further specify that because there are different kinds of auditors per se. I am a food safety auditor. So when I got this job, the that is Ecolab USA. It's a US company. They actually just took a look at checked out my resume, my background, and if at all I'm that ready to become one of their auditors. Actually, I'm the only one here in the Philippines for now for 7 years doing food safety auditing for Ecolab USA.
Okay, so what exactly is it that you do in your daily work?
Well, if I consider that as my main job, because I also have other engagements, being knowledgeable about what I would really have to audit. So I must have a set of standards as basis in evaluating and giving an assessment of establishments that where the food safety audit should be carried out. And if it's not for such standards, then I wouldn't be that qualified to do so. So before I was able to get myself really familiar and knowledgeable about the standards, I have to undergo training. It was a one-on-one training with my US principals that happened outside the country. At the time, it wasn't yet the pandemic, so we were able to do so on a personal basis. And I have to go out of the country to be given a one-on-one training. While I know and I am familiar about the standards, we are talking about the US Food and Drug Administration standards. We add on to this the establishment specific standards on food safety. So it's like a two-level approach, looking at the entire establishment's conformance to US FDA standards because first and foremost, our clients are US food brands. So whether they are within the US or outside of the US, they should be compliant with the standards of the US Food and Drug Administration. And then the training has further introduced me to the individual food safety standards, or let's say company or brand specific standards on food safety to add on to that of the USFDA.
Okay, so what got you initially interested in the food and beverage sector?
Well, it was actually my college degree. So it was I started with a purely science and engineering course way back in UP. Then when I finished my bachelor's degree, I was I got into thinking of if at all I would be expanding um, my knowledge based on what I like. The food industry came about because when I compare the curriculum, um, while the shall we say the hardcore chemistry, sciences, and engineering were in this were in my bachelor's degree, I added on to that knowledge in food science. So that's why I took a master's in food science, also in the same university. But of course, not really knowing whether how I should be able to apply that. But from then on, my employment were with the food industry through and through, food sector.
Okay, so you talked a bit about school. So how has your education helped with your career?
Well, initially I thought it wouldn't be much of help at all. However, when as I went into the different shall we say verticals of the food sector, I realized that what I took in my masters and in my college were really, really relevant. In fact, I'm glad, I'm happy that I was able to apply my educational background, my education to my job up to where I am now. In fact, the verticals varied. Started with production and research and development, and then that led me to marketing, food trade, wherein the food sector is exactly, I should say, the only one, if not one of the few, which can only push trade subject to compliances. So, in trade parlance, we call it non-tariff barriers, because tariff barriers would always talk about taxes, tariffs, and all. But for non-tariff barriers, these are so many different aspects in trading, shall we say FMCG or any type of product that you have to comply with in addition to all the tariff requirements when you export or when you trade domestically. So that's where my learnings in college were tested for relevance because um, it wasn't enough. but the foundation made me attuned to whatever the additional requirements were, because definitely you don't learn everything in school. So you see a lot of new learnings when you are already in the business, whichever part of business you belong. And the fact that this educational background is present in my system, that has really helped me significantly understand what these non-tariff barriers are. So that's marketing. And then after marketing, I went into consultancies. That includes trainings. They include training and again industry development. Now it's no longer per company product development, because when you are engaged with the government, they talk about industry sectors. So that came about, and then after I'm still into trainings until now, doing trainings, and then the audit opportunity came about. So it was really a full circle thing, because I haven't really departed much from what I've learned in school.
Okay, so would you recommend any specific majors for or like college majors for students who are interested in entering the FMCG space?
Well, if you are, as I said, the industry has different verticals. So if you are into marketing, if you are into promotion, knowing a good having a good background on the food products that you are handling would be a big benefit for someone who is going to enter into this industry. I have encountered many times those who are into marketing and promotion who really have zero knowledge about what kind of canned item is this, what is the difference of the flexible product to the can, what happens, why is the name like this. There are really such many things essentials in marketing a certain food item that will entail for someone to have a bit of background to understand what the product is. But if you are going to FMCG that is non-food, then a lot of it will be based on aesthetics. It will be based on the love of or passion of being creative and designing own things. So it really varies.
Okay, so moving on, what is the biggest challenge you have encountered as an auditor?
Well, for one, if I'm not prepared to audit a certain establishment, that really, keeps me in tenterhooks. I have butterflies in my stomach if I'm not able to have studied and reviewed for it. That is something that I really am trying to avoid as much as possible. And US food brands, there are a lot of US food brands. Ecolab USA has already, well, you can actually Google Ecolab USA. There is a division called EcoSure, and I belong to that EcoSure because it is actually the food safety service that is embraced in this division, EcoSure division. And we have gone, um, there are a lot of steps that has undertaken worldwide. So, but US food brands love to explore foreign countries. Therefore, I'm not talking about just one food brand. And each brand, aside from, of course, as I said, USFDA first, and then add on your brand specific standards. That's where the challenges would come in. What are the standards of each brand? How can I study this more? No, that is actually my everyday challenge, especially now when Ecolab would like me to. I am sorry, cancel. When Ecolab would like me to take on more brands next year because they are growing in numbers, they are growing, they're fast becoming a reliable partner when it comes to food safety. And add to that, I was also tasked to study more about guest experience. This is about brand management, brand protection. There is also a specific standard to that. So that's really where I have to be alert and I have to put time into in terms of learning more about these standards.
Okay, so you kind of mentioned a little bit about it earlier, but what are the pressures you experience and how do you manage them?
So for these pressures on, especially when there are new standards coming up and already there is the client has already confirmed that we are going to be the one to audit them, then I really have to manage it. I really have to have more time, a lot, schedule my time properly so that I will have enough focus to give on the new brand. When the pandemic came in, our trainings still continued because number of brands kept growing. And because of the limitation in travel and all, especially from the Philippines, because they were asking me before if I can already start going out, I had to say no until 2021, I think, because if not for the stringency here, if ever I am able to get out, let's say go to any Asian country, the restrictions there are far more, time consuming, like 1 week quarantine, So I really did not agree to that. Now my trainings came about as one-on-one or online. That's when we started the online training. And then there was a practice exam after. There is a score that you have to meet. If you are not able to do it 100%, there are brands that says you have to answer this 100%. There are those that if you get a score of 80 and above, then you pass, then you can carry out the audit. So those were much of the challenges that I'm facing now. And I just really have to allot time for it. I have the privilege of time anyway because I am not fully employed. I'm not into employment anymore. So I really juggle around my time so that if such, a situation is present, I adjust my time to prioritize that.
Okay. So even though you said you're not as like fully employed, but what do you love most about the job, just working?
What I love most? Well, first, I aside from being able, one is really being able to see in actuality how brand standards are implemented. Because sometimes what is written is not really what I see in the actual way it is being done. And it happens from one country to another. They really vary when it comes to complying with standards. And that's what I get to, it's a pleasant surprise for me because I can see that there's compliance. And yet they do it in different ways. So that's one thing. The second is the interaction. I like the interaction with people, especially the young ones, because basically they're younger because I'm not young anymore. So basically these are the young people that um, they would like to learn because I would I would normally be shadowed by the managers, no less than the managers. If as the area manager or district manager, also the area manager would find time to be there, or district manager. These are managers that have jurisdiction over different locations, let's say in Metro Manila. So these are the higher ranked officers. So they also and likewise and further, my interaction would lead to them listening on how to make sure that the brand standards are implemented. And if at all these are not implemented, and I really can't do anything about it because blatantly they have really committed such violations, I have to explain to them well why we have to go through that process. So I love those two things because of course, flexibility, as I said, no, the reason why I can deliver and be able to do the audit properly to both our satisfaction is that the flexibility of time allows me to prepare for my audit schedules.
Okay. So currently, like there's a lot of companies worried about sustainability, and I know that the government sometimes requires like companies to reduce their emissions. So are there new areas that are in consideration within audits that check for sustainability?
Well, it still goes back to the basic situations because in the food industry, sustainability is much supported by having a sustainable food chain. So I would look more on the back on the supply chain. No, um, I also see a lot of waste, especially in food service and food industry, and that is equivalent to losses. But not just that. When you dispose of the waste, that's where carbon emission happens. And the more waste you have, if you don't properly manage that, the more carbon emissions or methane will harm the environment. So there is really, shall we say, perforated connection between those two. So what my job has really taught me, which I've also encountered this way back when I was in school and in the trainings, because in the trainings we also talk of new standards. That's why basically we teach new or updated standards. It is important that our our food sector would communicate well to their partners on how raw materials must be delivered, how raw materials must be selected or harvested in order to avoid much losses. How timely can you deliver the items? How should you prepare? Because when we are able to communicate to our suppliers what we need, then our partners in the supply chain will just follow what we need so that they will not be into suffering much losses for rejections. When there are rejections, raw material palang waste na. I'm not talking about, may second pa tayo dyan, no? When you are in production or when you are in food service, for example. In food service, I noticed that whenever they cook, there's a certain short time for it to be served. For example, 1 hour. After which, those are discarded. So in production or in the operation, proper projection of activities would be important in order again to avoid any discard of cooked items, prepared items, because you over projected. That's waste again. So at each step of the way, there are really um, ways by which we can contribute to sustainability and carbon emission. So it's actually a work in progress. It's a work in progress.
Okay. So my next question, kind of related to the major question, the college major question, but how can students get work experience in auditing, and are there any research or internships that they can apply for?
Well, normally auditing is in the last part of a career, of one's career, because auditing can become something that you'd like or that you'll be passionate about if you know about its background. So let's say you are into food processing and you would like to audit, to be an auditor someday, So auditing is a composite of, let's say, processing, of one's know-how in processing canned items, in processing meat, fish, and all. So from the college level, I would say that those subjects in food science and technology um, could prepare you to be initially interested just for the initial stepping stone. If you are taking a master's in food science, what my experience was, I got to understand more about why food gets spoiled, why do they expire, what are the reasons for such, how do I make sure that they don't expire, how do I make sure that they don't get spoiled. It's a total science and engineering. It's simple question, but there's a science to it, there's a chemistry to it, there's a microbiology to it, and there's an engineering to it. Now, that when you are in a science course, that would prepare you. That would prepare you. And that will be your first stepping stone. And then when you get to enter, and if fortunately you are able to already enter that industry sector that really interests you, you can already chart something from there. And then eventually, if you really would like to jump start and do the audit, then I would suggest getting more trainings because schools cannot give that. There are external trainings available to help you understand because it's not yet a decision point for you. It's something that you just got interested in. So if you're interested in it, okay, why don't I get a training on this and then maybe learn more about it? Or can if after being trained, maybe I can delay it more because I need to study further on the other aspects. So that will help you decide until eventually you are already on the at the entrance door going to an auditing career.
Okay. So in your career, you've gone to different countries to work there, like Singapore and the US. So when you go to different countries, do you change your strategies? And if you do, how can someone learn to get these kind of skills that enable them to work with people across the globe?
Well, actually, I got more. If I say difficulty level, the difficulty level happened in Singapore and Taiwan because when I went to Taiwan for one, uh, the English speaking managers are, shall we say, are not too much into English. In Singapore, the type of English, you know how they speak, diba? The English, the Singaporean way. So I just have to really understand it well. Um, Also, I tend to simplify my questions. So let's say, I'd say, let's calibrate this. I will change it. Let's check the temperature of our thermometer, get ice, so I have to give them shock. Calibrate, for example, here in the Philippines, in the US, it's highly understandable. But I cannot assume that that is how they understand it well in other countries. So I have to get the feel of it. I cannot be too aggressive. I do not do that. Whenever I am in other countries, I adjust, I explain, although because there are visits that are really unannounced, Shobe, so I really have to go to explain myself well, and then I will advise them that I have an ID. I will introduce myself properly before I begin, and then whenever I do some activity like I'd like to go there and check the equipment, I have to tell them first. Is it okay to open this? I have to ask them first. So I have to adjust myself to that, and I don't really mind because our Ecolab USA or EcoSure is actually has envisioned that we have to be partners of the industries. We're not there to always find faults because auditing is not about finding fault. It's just looking at facts and knowing whether the facts are in compliance with the standards or not. So I have to discuss it properly with them. There is always a closing meeting aside from the opening meeting. So I have to carry that out.
Okay, so for my last question, what is your message to the youth like myself when it comes to chasing their dreams? And are there certain careers in food or auditing that you feel will have more scope in the near future?
At this moment, I'll go to the last question first. At this moment, the most important food auditing part is really food safety because that's what drives trade. And then there is a growing one when it comes to brand protection. Sometimes these owners of the brand do it themselves, but because of the wide distribution that's happening, it's now global. So they rely on third party or second party like us to also evaluate brand protection, brand image. So that is where the other branch of audit goes when it comes to the food industry. As to aspiring, chasing dreams, well, it begins with what you like best doing, what you feel like best. In fact, when I started, I was helped by my brother in order to know which course I should take in UP then. Um, you have to be honest with yourself. For example, I know that I'm not very good in chemistry through and through. It's not, pag narinig ko yung chemistry, I already, backtrack. But I like it. Okay, then my brother said, so what about math? A little bit of math. I'm okay. So how about, about engineering, the usual? It's interesting. It's interesting. So he tried to look for that course that would give me those snippets. Because I have to be honest with myself that I cannot decide yet at the time. But if I look at how my sons made the decision, they really made the decision themselves when they went to college actually. So it could be different in your generation, Lara. It could be different in your generation because you have more options now. Are you not confused with the many options that you have now? But the more confused you are, the more you need guidance. And don't hesitate to ask for guidance. If you can find it in the first person that you've spoken to, look for another one. It could be your professor, it could be your elder sister or brother. But wisdom can come from the elders. If you'd like to get the elders, wisdom would come from the elders. Because once you made the decision, you still have 4 years to, let's say, hone on it, check. That time, use it properly. Use it properly because I think that's how my sons did it. They every year they themselves would look at, do I like this? Am I doing this? Because one of them, when they reached senior level or fifth year level, there was an elective part in the curriculum. You have to take any course you like. He chose another a way off subject because he felt like he was interested in that. And it did not really, it really is like, it came full circle because magagamit pala niya. Because there's interest, the interest is there. So it seems like the job would just gravitate to you because you have that aura, you have that profile, you have that openness for that opportunity. So just do what you have to do. I don't have any formula because it all depends on the person. But if you have that support, family support, then you're very fortunate because you will be able to work on your dreams with the support of family. That is you are one of those lucky young people.
Eh, thank you so much for joining me on this interview po.
Okay. O sige, sana hindi ako masyadong madaldal.